Okay, here's pages 3 and 4 of our extra practice. A cubic function has turning points at -1, 2, and 1, -2, which could be the graph. Okay, so we're going to use some logic here. And I know if it's a cubic function, that means it's an odd function. So it can't be A and it can't be B. So my turning points over -1 and -1 up to and over 1 down to, it's got to be D. All right, which function of x appears to have two distinct real zeros? So this is imaginary, it never crosses the axis. This is imaginary, it never crosses the axis. Here, if I have a 0 here and I have a 0 there, that's going to be two roots. This one's going to have a double root. Let's look at this one, has 1, 2, 3, so that's going to leave me with C as my answer. All right, which is an apparent zero of the function graphed? So here's a 0 and here's a 0, and that's a double root. So this looks like over 1, 2, not a choice. Over -1, 2, 3, there's a choice. I have to use this word apparent because we're estimating from the graph. Don't be freaked out by it. Which is an apparent factor. So remember, a factor is going to be where I have x plus or minus whatever value. And remember, that's going to be the opposite of the 0. So we've got to be careful of that. So here I have an x is equal to 1. And that's going to give me an x minus 1 as a factor. There it is. X 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. X is equal to 5. So I'm looking for x minus 5. No, I don't see it. -1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is x is equal to -5. So that would have x plus 5 as a factor. And I don't see that one. So we'll stick with A. Looks good. Always make sure you check all of the answers. The SOL has multiple select answers. So just because you found one, don't think you found them all. So get used to checking everything. All right, a polynomial function has zeros where x is equal to -3 and x is equal to 4, which is one of the factors. So this is going to be x plus 3 is equal to 0 and x minus 4 is equal to 0. So not that one, not that one, not that one. Don't you love how they try to trick you there? All right, two factors of a polynomial are x plus 6 and x minus 3, which is a 0. This means x is equal to -6 and x is equal to 3. So no. Yes. What are the factors of a polynomial function if its graph has x-intercepts? So at -1, that's going to be that factor, that's going to be that factor, and +1/2 is going to be x minus 1 over 2. And sometimes we go ahead and call this 2x minus 1 if we multiply it. So we can go ahead and rewrite that one. All right. So let's see, our factors are an x, we got that one taken care of, and an x plus 1, which means these guys are wrong. And then we have a 2x minus 1, that 1/2, they went ahead and put that. So we want to make sure we understand how to multiply the whole thing by 2. If that is equal to 0, I can multiply both sides by 2. And that would give me 2x minus 1 is still equal to 0. So I haven't changed the value of my function. Which of the following is a 0 of this graph? Let's grab our calculator and we'll go ahead and we'll enter everything in. Go to the y is equal to screen. X to the third power minus x to the second power minus 14x plus 24. We're going to go ahead and look at the graph, and I see some good possibilities here, so I'm going to go ahead and go to the table of values and look at all these zeros I see. 2 and 3. Were there any back here? Oh, there's another one. So we have, let's get them all listed down. So x is equal to negative 4, and 2 and 3. It's a cubic, so I found them all. Let's see, which of the following is a 0? This looks good, and I need a positive 2, so we're just going to go with A. None of those are what I'm looking for. Alright, find all the solutions for a 0. So this is going to give me an x is equal to negative 2. So this one's out because I need my negative 2. Alright, so obviously this one's going to be a little bit harder to solve. I can tell right away by my i's and my radicals. I can have irrational and imaginary solutions. So we're not going to bother trying to factor. I'm just going to jump right into my quadratic formula for this trinomial here. So for this trinomial here, my a is equal to 1, my b is negative 4, and my c is equal to 7. So when I put that through my quadratic formula, x is equal to the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2a. When I go to my calculator to find my discriminant, I'm going to go to my home screen and I'm going to say 16 minus 4 times 7 is going to give me negative 12 for my discriminant. So x is equal to 4 plus or minus the square root of negative 12 all over 2. So guess what? I got to keep going. X is equal to 4 plus or minus 12 has 3 factors, a 4, a 3, and a negative 1. So the negative 1 comes out as I, the 4 comes out as 2, and there's my 3 that is stuck inside. So when I go to factor out my common factors, 2 comes out of all of these, giving me x is equal to 2 plus or minus I root 3. Positive 2 plus or minus I root 3. So this one has a negative 2, so he's gone. This one has a 2 under the radical. That's not good. 2 plus or minus I root 3. It's definitely B. Okay. 13. If A, B, C, D, and G are all real numbers, and A is smaller than 0, meaning that it's a negative graph, which equation could be represented by this curve? All right. So I see a cubic graph because it's an odd function, so I can get rid of my evens right away. This is linear, and a linear graph has no bumps. He's a straight line, so it can't be him. It has to be this cubic graph. All right, good job. Come with questions, and we'll have part 2 of the test when I see you next.